Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going deep on something pretty
Okay.
unique,
Right.
the yscript programming language.
Interesting.
Now, you might not have heard of it before,
So,
and that's okay.
yeah.
It's primarily used for like representing legal rules and procedures,
All right.
but its applications go beyond that,
Interesting.
and we're going to get into all that.
All right.
But based on this weissmanual.pdf that you gave me,
Okay.
we're going to really unpack what makes yscript tick.
Sounds good.
We're going to discover how it lets you write code that reads almost like plain English,
Yeah.
making it way easier to understand and maintain, even if you're not a coding whiz.
Like plain English instead of legalese.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly. So I'm kind of picturing like dense lines of code.
Okay.
How can you possibly make legal language understandable by both people and computers?
Well, that's where yscript's kind of secret weapon comes in.
okay.
It's reliance on plain English propositions. Instead of cryptic symbols and syntax.
Right.
You see things like, and I'm quoting directly from the manual here,
Okay.
rule provides you should take an umbrella only if it is raining.
Whoa, wait, so you're telling me I can write legal rules that read like normal sentences?
Exactly.
That's wild. No more deciphering complex legal jargon.
That's the idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this natural language approach is a core design principle in yscript,
Okay.
and it makes it far more accessible and maintainable than traditional programming languages.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's almost like having a conversation with the legal system itself.
I love that.
Yeah.
So how does yscript actually break down these English propositions?
Okay.
It must be doing some serious linguistic gymnastics in the background.
You're right, it does involve some pretty clever processing.
Okay.
Yscript uses a lightweight parser
Okay.
to analyze the structure of these propositions,
Right.
identifying the subjects, verbs, and objects, just like diagramming a sentence back in grade school. But instead of just analyzing the grammar,
Mm-hmm.
it actually extracts the meaning and logical relationships within those sentences.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just understanding the words.
Right.
It's understanding the legal concepts behind them.
Exactly.
What happens if there's like a grammatical error?
Yeah.
Does the whole system like freak out?
No,
Shit.
yscript is surprisingly robust.
Okay.
It can often figure out what you mean,
Okay.
even if the grammar isn't perfect.
That's pretty cool.
But if it does get stumped,
Mm-hmm.
you can always rephrase the proposition
Okay.
or give it a little nudge
Okay.
by manually separating the subject and predicate using a tilde.
Okay, so you can kind of help it along before
Exactly.
it gets stuck.
Yeah, you can guide it a bit.
That's neat. It's like having a legal assistant
Yeah,
that can like decipher your most convoluted legalese.
you could say that. And speaking of legal jargon,
Okay.
yscript also has a clever way of dealing with like specific legal terminology.
Okay.
It comes with a built-in dictionary of verbs, but you can also expand its vocabulary using the VRBS declaration.
Okay.
So this lets you tailor the language to specific legal domains,
Okay.
ensuring it understands the nuances of, say, contract law versus criminal law.
So it can like learn the lingo
Exactly.
of different areas of law.
Yeah, you can train it.
That's really
That's
impressive.
very powerful.
But it can't just be about rules, right?
Right.
What about the actual information that those rules work with?
Yeah.
How does it handle like all the facts of a case?
That's where facts come in.
Okay.
Think of them as the building blocks of knowledge in yscript.
Okay.
They're essentially pieces of information that can be true or false,
Right.
or have a specific value like a number, a date, or even an amount of money.
I see. So facts are like the data points that feed into the legal reasoning engine.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
But yscript takes it a step further.
Okay.
It allows you to specify units of measure for your facts,
Oh, wow.
like meters Celsius or dollars.
Okay.
So you could have a fact like the temperature is 25 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
And the yscript would understand both the value and the unit, just like a human would.
That's way more sophisticated than just storing numbers.
It is.
So you're saying I could create a system that not only understands legal rules, but also crunches numbers and even tracks dates.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
And it gets even cooler.
Okay, lay it on me.
You can customize how these facts are displayed using styles.
Okay.
Imagine you're building a system to track legal precedents.
Okay.
Each case could be a fact, with attached documents, dates formatted in a specific way, and even numerical data like damages awarded.
Hold on. So we're talking about creating a system that can not only analyze legal rules, but also organize and present all the relevant information in a way that makes sense to humans.
That's the goal.
This is starting to sound like a lawyer's dream tool.
It definitely has that potential.
Okay. I am very impressed.
Glad to hear it.
This is way beyond anything I imagined.
Still pretty powerful stuff.
But before we get too carried away with the possibilities,
Yeah.
let's go back to the facts for a second.
Okay.
The manual mentions something called ranges for facts.
Right.
What are those all about?
Ranges are a clever way to ensure the accuracy of information entered into the system.
Okay.
They allow you to set limits on the allowable values for a fact.
Oh.
So, for example, you could specify that the number of surviving children must be between 0 and, well, a reasonable upper limit.
Right.
This helps prevent errors and make sure the information being processed is valid.
It's like having a built-in fact checker.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it helps keep things consistent.
But there's one more thing I'm curious about. Named subjects.
Okay.
It sounds kind of like a character list in a play.
Right.
What's the legal equivalent?
Named subjects are one of yscript's most brilliant features.
Okay.
Let's say you have a fact like the defendant is insolvent.
Okay.
Instead of repeating the defendant over and over,
Right.
you can declare a named subject like
Okay.
the person, the defendant,
Mm.
and then use pronouns like he or she to refer back to them.
So it's like teaching yscript how to use pronouns correctly, just like a human would.
Precisely.
Wow. So it's not just processing information, it's understanding the nuances of human language.
It's getting pretty meta, isn't it?
Yeah, this is getting seriously meta.
Yeah.
But how does yscript actually use all these facts and rules to make decisions,
Right.
to actually reason about legal matters?
That's where the real magic happens.
Okay.
And that's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
All right. I'm ready when you are.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into yscript. Before we jump into how yscript makes decisions,
Okay.
I want to touch on one more thing about those named subjects.
Okay.
Remember those?
Yeah.
You can actually specify like a preferred form of address for each named subject.
Really? So instead of just saying the defendant,
Right.
it could actually say like Mr. Smith
Yeah.
or Miss Jones.
Yeah.
That's so human-like.
It is.
Incredible.
And it makes those generated legal documents
Yeah.
so much more readable and relatable.
Yeah, definitely.
It's those little details
Yeah.
that really make yscript stand out.
Yeah, I agree.
But you're right.
Yeah.
Let's get into the heart of it.
Okay.
How yscript uses facts and rules to actually reason about legal matters.
All right. Lay it on me.
How does this legal reasoning engine work?
Yeah.
Well, at the heart of yscript's reasoning capabilities are rules.
Okay.
Think of them as like instructions
Okay.
that tell the system how to connect the dots between facts
Okay.
and draw conclusions.
So the rules are where the actual legal knowledge is encoded.
Exactly. They're structured in a way that's both logical
Okay.
and surprisingly easy to grasp.
Okay.
Most rules follow an if-then-else structure,
Okay.
similar to what you'd see in like a legal statute.
Right.
For
Okay.
example, you could have a rule like,
Okay.
if the defendant is insolvent,
Okay.
then the defendant does not have the capacity to pay damages.
It's like translating a legal principle
Yes.
into a clear computational instruction.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you have the facts of a case, and then you have these rules
Yeah,
that determine what conclusions can be drawn based on those facts.
exactly.
Are all the rules structured in this simple if-then-else way?
That's a good question.
What if the legal situation is more complex?
Well, yscript offers different types of rules
Okay.
to handle various scenarios.
Okay.
You have backward rules, which start with a goal
Okay.
and work backward to figure out what facts are needed to support that goal.
Oh, so backward rules are for when you know the desired outcome.
Right.
And you need to figure out how to get there.
Exactly like a detective solving a case.
I like that analogy.
Yeah. Piecing together clues.
Okay, and then you also have forward rules.
Right. Forward rules are triggered when specific conditions are met.
Okay.
Think of them as setting off a chain reaction.
Okay.
If this happens, then that must follow.
It's starting to sound like a complex web of legal logic,
It is.
but in a good way.
It is in a good way.
So we've got backward rules, we've got forward rules.
Right.
Are there any other types of rules?
You bet there are also daemon rules.
Demon rules. Okay.
Which continuously monitor the system for specific situations.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they're like always running in the background.
Exactly. They're like vigilant guards,
Okay.
always on the lookout
Gotcha.
for any changes that might require action.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then there's another type of rule that adds even more flexibility.
Okay.
Procedure rules.
Procedure rules. Okay.
These are like reusable building blocks of logic
Okay.
that can be called upon by other rules.
So they're kind of like functions.
Exactly. They're great for breaking down complex tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks.
It's like creating a library of legal wisdom
Yes.
that can be applied to different cases and situations.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, it makes the code much more modular and reusable.
Okay, so you've got all these different types of rules working together.
Right.
But where do you even start?
That's a good point.
Like, how do you know which rules to use when?
Well, there's a special type of rule called a goal rule
A goal rule. Okay.
that defines the ultimate objective of the yscript code.
So it's like the main question you're trying to answer.
Exactly. It's like setting the destination for your legal journey.
So everything else in the yscript code is working towards satisfying that goal rule.
Precisely, the goal rule determines the direction of the reasoning process.
It's like saying, here's the question we're trying to answer now. Let's use all these facts and rules to find the solution.
Exactly.
I love how yscript is turning this complex legal reasoning
Yeah.
into something that's almost like a puzzle to be solved.
It's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It makes it much more approachable.
But it's not just about crunching logic and reaching conclusions, right?
Right.
What about actually generating documents like contracts or legal opinions?
That's where yscript really shines.
Okay.
It has a built-in document rule type,
Okay.
specifically for creating legal documents.
But I'm betting it's not just spitting out plain text. What about formatting and like making those documents look presentable?
Yscript has that covered.
Right, okay.
Document rules use statements like
Right.
line, paragraph, and text to control the layout.
Okay.
And here's the cool part. You can embed yscript facts directly into the text
Really?
using curly braces.
So you could have a sentence like,
Right.
this contract is between open curly brace party underscore a close curly brace and open curly brace party underscore B close curly brace.
Exactly.
And yscript would automatically fill in the names from the relevant facts.
You got it.
That's amazing.
It's like having a legal document that dynamically updates itself based on the information in the case.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time and effort.
And to make those documents even more polished,
Right.
yscript supports Markdown
It does.
for basic text formatting.
Yeah, so you can add headings,
Yeah.
bold text lists, and other formatting elements.
Markdown, isn't that what's used for like websites and online documents?
That's right. It's a simple and widely used way to format text.
So it keeps the document clean and organized.
Exactly, just like you'd expect from a professional legal document.
Okay, we've talked a lot about rules and logic.
We have.
But what about those real-world situations where things aren't always black and white?
Yeah, good point.
Where legal decisions hinge on subtle differences in precedents.
Well, that's where yscript support for example-based reasoning comes in.
Okay.
It's like having a database of past cases that the system can refer to when making decisions.
So it's like teaching yscript by showing it real-world examples.
Exactly, by comparing the current situation to these stored examples.
Okay.
Yscript can draw conclusions based on similarity.
That's a powerful technique
It is.
for handling situations where rigid rules might not be enough.
Precisely.
It's like having a legal expert
Yeah.
who can draw on years of experience and case history
Right?
to inform their decisions.
Exactly. It adds a layer of nuance and flexibility to the reasoning process.
I'm really starting to appreciate the depth and flexibility of yscript.
It's a pretty remarkable language, isn't it?
It really is.
It can handle a wide range of legal scenarios.
But how do you actually interact with yscript?
Oh, good question.
Is it all command line interfaces and cryptic commands?
Not at all. yscript comes with a command line interpreter called cyscript,
Okay.
but it's designed to be surprisingly user-friendly.
Okay.
You can literally type in yscript commands and see the results immediately.
So you can have a sort of conversation with the legal code itself.
Exactly. It's a very interactive way to work with yscript.
That's really cool.
And cyscript offers some really helpful commands
Okay.
for exploring and understanding how your yscript code works.
Okay.
For instance, the Y command
The Y command. Okay.
lets you trace the chain of reasoning back to the goal rule,
Okay.
explaining why a particular question is being asked.
That sounds incredibly useful for debugging.
It is, especially when dealing with complex legal logic.
Yeah, definitely.
What other commands are there?
Yeah, what else is there?
Well, there's the what if command, which is one of my favorites.
What teeth? Okay.
It lets you explore hypothetical scenarios
Okay.
without actually changing any of the facts.
So it's like saying, okay, what if this fact were different? How would that affect the outcome?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a great way to test different legal arguments and see how they play out.
That's incredibly powerful.
It allows for so much flexibility in analyzing different scenarios.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a very useful tool.
What else?
And then there's how, which shows you the steps taken to reach a specific conclusion.
Okay, so it's like a behind-the-scenes look at yscript's thought process.
Exactly. It's all about transparency and making sure everything is logically sound.
It's like having a legal scholar walk you through every step of their reasoning.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm really starting to appreciate the depth and flexibility of yscript,
It's a very well-designed language.
but it's not a static language, is it?
Good point.
Things must have changed and evolved over time.
Of course, like any technology.
Right.
yscript has undergone updates and improvements over the years.
What are some of the most notable changes?
Well, version 2.x introduced some significant changes.
3.x, okay.
One of the most notable was the addition of Markdown support, which we discussed earlier.
Ah, yes, the ability to add formatting to documents.
Exactly.
What else changed in that version?
They also introduced attachments to facts.
Yeah, okay.
This lets you link documents, templates, or reports to specific facts.
Oh, wow.
Imagine you have a fact about a specific legal case.
Okay.
You could attach the actual court documents to that fact, making them easily accessible.
That's a game changer.
It's all about making legal information more organized and accessible.
Yeah, for sure.
And version 2.x also introduced those named subjects we talked about
Right.
and embedded facts, which allow you to include the value of one fact within another.
Okay.
These additions significantly enhanced yscript's expressiveness and readability.
It seems like version 2.x was a major leap forward for yscript.
It really expanded its capabilities and made it even more user-friendly.
And based on what we've seen so far, it's a language that's well equipped to handle the complexities of the legal world.
I agree, it's a powerful tool for legal reasoning and automation.
But it's one thing to talk about features in the abstract.
Right.
Can we see yscript in action?
Of course.
Does the manual offer any, real-world examples?
It does, and they're truly insightful.
Okay, give me an example.
For example, there's one that shows how to represent provisions from the Community Gaming Regulation 2020.
Okay.
Including rules for various types of gaming activity.
So it's not just a theoretical tool.
No, it's being used to deal with actual legal frameworks.
That's impressive.
And there's another example that tackles Section 44 of the Commonwealth Constitution,
Okay.
which deals with disqualifications for members of Parliament.
Those are some seriously weighty legal matters.
They are, and it's a great illustration of how cyscript can handle complex legal concepts.
Like citizenship and allegiance.
Is-
Are there any other examples worth highlighting?
Yes, there's one that I find particularly interesting.
Okay.
It's based on the legal concept of finders,
Finders. Okay.
who has the right to possess lost property.
I see.
It's a classic legal puzzle,
Yeah.
and it showcases yscript's ability to handle conditional logic and case-based reasoning.
Those are all important concepts in legal reasoning.
They are, and yscript provides a clear and concise way to express them.
We've been talking about yscript as a sort of self-contained system.
Right.
Can it interact with other software?
That's a good question.
Does it have an API?
It does. The API is the bridge that allows other software systems to tap into the power of yscript.
So with the API, you could have a web application, for example,
Right.
that uses yscript to process legal information behind the scenes.
Exactly. The API provides functions for loading yscript code,
Okay.
setting fact values, executing rules, retrieving conclusions, and even generating reports.
It's like having a legal brain that you can plug into any software system.
It's a powerful way to extend yscript's functionality.
What kind of functions does the API offer?
There are functions for managing user sessions,
Okay.
getting prompts and translations for facts,
Right.
retrieving explanations for conclusions,
Right.
and even checking if specific rules exist.
Sounds pretty comprehensive.
It's a comprehensive toolkit for seamlessly integrating yscript into a wider ecosystem of applications.
And speaking of integration,
Right.
the manual mentions that yscript can be called from other programming languages,
It can.
like C++, Python, Ruby, and Perl.
That's right. This multilingual capability really expands yscript's reach,
Yeah, definitely.
allowing developers to leverage its strengths within their preferred programming environments.
It's amazing how yscript manages to be both specialized for legal reasoning
Yeah.
and adaptable to different programming contexts.
It's a testament to its thoughtful design
Yeah.
and with its detailed documentation,
Right.
including the AskManual.pdf we've been exploring. yscript empowers both legal professionals and software developers
Yeah,
to harness its power effectively.
I agree.
It's a very well-documented and accessible language.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From natural language propositions to intricate rule systems.
Right.
From document assembly to example-based reasoning,
Yes.
and even its API and integration capabilities.
It's been a very thorough deep dive.
It's been an incredibly deep dive.
Yes, it has.
But as we wrap up,
Okay.
the real question is, what does this all mean?
Right.
What are the implications of this technology
Yeah.
for the legal world and beyond?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And that's what we'll tackle in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, I can't wait.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent the last 2 segments exploring this fascinating world of yscript,
Yeah.
a language that can handle like the complexities of legal reasoning
Right.
while still being surprisingly approachable.
Definitely.
But as we wrap up our deep dive, it's time to step back and ask, what does this all mean?
Yeah.
What are the implications of this technology for the legal profession and beyond?
That's the question that's been on my mind this whole time.
Yeah.
We've seen how yscript can represent laws, regulations, and even entire legal systems
Right.
in a way that computers can understand and reason with.
Yeah, it's like we're on the cusp of a new era
It is.
where law and technology truly converge.
Exactly.
How will this impact the role of lawyers in the future?
That's a great question.
Will they need to become programmers to stay relevant?
Well, while yscript is designed to be accessible to non-programmers,
Right.
I think having a deeper understanding of computational concepts
Yeah, okay.
will undoubtedly become increasingly valuable for legal professionals.
Yeah, it's like any field being transformed by technology.
Right.
You don't necessarily need to be an expert in the tech itself,
Right.
but you need to be fluent in the language it speaks.
I couldn't agree more. In the legal world, that language is becoming one of logic, rules, and computational thinking.
It's about understanding how legal principles can be translated
Right.
into a form that computers can process and act upon.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder how legal education might evolve to equip future lawyers with these skills.
That's an interesting thought.
Will we see law schools offering courses on legal coding or computational law?
It's definitely possible. I wouldn't be surprised if those skills become highly sought after in the legal job market.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a growing field.
But beyond the impact on the legal profession itself,
Yeah.
what about the broader implications for access to justice?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Imagine systems that can help ensure consistency in legal interpretation,
Okay.
reducing the potential for human bias and error.
That would be huge.
It would.
Or systems that can make legal services more affordable
Right.
and accessible to those who can't afford traditional representation.
Exactly.
We're talking about the potential to democratize access to legal knowledge and resources.
The potential is massive.
It is.
It's about empowering individuals and communities to navigate the legal system
Right.
with more confidence and understanding.
Absolutely.
We've only scratched the surface of what's possible with yscript
I agree.
and technologies like it.
It's both exciting and a little daunting to think about the changes ahead.
Yeah, it is for sure.
But as we wrap up our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with this thought.
Right.
In a world increasingly shaped by artificial intelligence,
Okay.
the ability to bridge the gap between human language and computational logic
Yeah.
will be more crucial than ever.
Absolutely. And yscript, with its unique approach, offers a glimpse into that future.
It does.
It's a future where law and technology work hand in hand to create a more just and equitable world for everyone.
That's the hope.
Well, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of exploration.
My pleasure. And remember, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.